I'm here. I've done it. I have made it, and I have finished watching all of Daredevil. So, let's talk about it. So, before we go in, I need to address that Daredevil, a lot of the stuff with the hand from season 2 was dealt with in Defenders. Defenders is a crock of garbage, so I didn't watch it. But I did just read a basic summary of it. I watched Defenders when it first came out and I hated it then, and I was like, do I really want to go through Defenders again? No, I don't. Let me just read the summary of what happened again. So, Stick is dead. Dumb decision. Elektra came back and died again. Great. And, yeah, Foggy now works for Jerry Hogarth, and Karen is with the New York Bulletin. There we go. So, let's go into Daredevil Season 3. So let's start off with the characters like we always do. Matt Murdock. So Matt is dealing with the aftermath of Defenders. We start the episode, the first episode, with him, just getting out of the building falling on top of him from the end of Defenders. He is taken to the church with Father Lantom, and that's where Matt resides for most of the show. He lives in the church, and Matt has in the first couple episodes, he loses a lot of his abilities. He loses hearing in one ear. When he gets punched and beat up, he starts to lose his senses and all that, which is, I guess that makes sense. He's injured. He's not at full strength. They even tell him that, you're not at full strength. Obviously, you had a building fall on you. That's going to take time. But Matt Murdock. He's very persistent. So we go through, I think, the first, what is it? The first 4 episodes he has this problem. So, yeah, there's that to deal with. We have Matt he fully embraces the Daredevil persona in this season. What I mean by that is he really just kind of forgoes Matt Murdock as a person and just focuses solely on being Daredevil and taking down Wilson Fisk. That's his sole purpose this season. He completely stops being the pro bono lawyer from Defenders. Matt Murdock is pretty much to him dead. He doesn't use Matt Murdock. He is Daredevil through and through. He distanced himself from Foggy and Karen, and he only really interacts with Sister Maggie, who is a sister in the church he's staying at, and of course Father Lantom, who, can I just say, Father Lantom, dude's goated. We love Father Lantom here. He's been great in the past 2 seasons as someone to restore Matt's faith or help him when he has a bit of a question on what to do. But this season, Father Lantom, he really became someone I really liked. And Sister Maggie was a nice addition. You get the feeling from her from the very beginning that she's not too happy with having Daredevil in the church, but then as it goes on, you start to wonder, she's really helping him a lot. And then when you realize her big secret, it's oh my god, it makes so much sense why she's been helping him this whole time. Then we have something they do with Matt, which I love this season, which is he has inner voices talking to him. And they do it with Wilson Fisk and his father. And it's really well done. It's he's having a conversation with himself, but the other voice that's arguing with him is, taking the form of someone else. And the way it's shot is brilliant. It's they're you can see them behind him, but they're out of focus. I love that. And they're very clearly only in his right ear, because that's usually where they're shown. And the sound only comes out of there. I think that is great. I love that. So hearing Fisk kind of taunt him about how, you couldn't keep your friends safe, I'm still out here. And he has stuff with his dad where he has an internal argument with his dad over a decision that his dad made. Well, not that it's a decision that his dad made, but a decision that was made. So Matt Murdock is destroyed this season. He goes through the ringer, and this is the lowest we've seen him In season 2, we got to see like his relationship with Foggy and Karen kind of fall apart, and him dealing with the duality of having a real life with a superhero life. But this one, it's like he's at rock bottom. My man is at rock bottom. So yeah, it's nice to see though later on when he like starts picking himself back up and he starts accepting Foggy and Karen again. You're like, yeah, I just want the trio to be back. Can we just have the trio back? So that's really nice. So moving on from Matt, what is of course Matt Murdock without Foggy? Foggy is great, again, as per usual. He is living the life, man. He's got the suits, he's got the money, he's got the girl, he's with Marcy as like a full-on relationship now, which I'm so happy. I gotta say, I'm so happy for Foggy, right? And I'm really happy his relationship with Marcy. Like how it started was very much, they kind of they were ex partners. Then they started to like they would hook up every once in a while for like a night, right? And then in season 2, she actually helps him get the new job with Hogarth. So you can see the relationship kind of grows to where it stops being just like, oh, just a booty call, to like, okay, maybe they actually start to like be normal people with each other, like actually talk and all that. And then now they're in a relationship and they're living in Marcy's penthouse together, and I love their relationship. I love how like Marcy herself has gone through a character arc, for being a sarcastic kind of douchey almost lawyer to in season 2 starting to realize that she kind of wants to do the right thing, and she does care. She does have a heart. She's not just the who we saw in season 1. And then in season 2, she's full on like supportive girlfriend to Foggy who loves him. Right? Like when Foggy is in the New York Bulletin when a certain thing goes down, Marcy is like genuinely concerned, and when she sees him again, she's like, almost crying, like, oh my god, thank god you're okay. Like, I like that. Good for them. Good for Foggy. Good for Marcy. And I wonder if in Born Again they have tied the knots. Because for those who don't know, Marcy is Foggy's second wife in the comics. So as soon as she was introduced in the show, you're like, oh, okay, well we know how this is going to end. And it has proceeded that way, and that's fine. That's how I wanted it to. So there's that. So I wonder in Born Again if they've tied the knot at this point. Hopefully they have, and they haven't done the whole typical Disney thing of they broke up. Also with Foggy, we get to see his parents and his family. We get to see the butcher shop that Foggy always joked about. We finally get to see it. And the butcher shop is kind of run by his brother now. And his brother ends up in a bit of trouble, which comes back for Foggy. So that was nice. It was nice to see his, Foggy's family and all that. And his mother is actually the same actress as Penguin's mom from the Penguin TV show, which is nice and funny. Like, as soon as you see her, I'm like, oh my god, I know you, crazy. So that's fun. And then Foggy also has his other side plot where he starts running for DA. He starts running against Blake Tower to become district attorney. And it looks like he might have a good chance at winning, which is great. However, certain stuff comes up with his family. This is the thing I was talking about with his brother, where Foggy realizes, damn it, if I win, I'm going to be in Wilson Fisk's pocket. So Foggy realizes he has to drop out. Even though he doesn't want to, he realizes that, if I win, I'm going to be Wilson Fisk's boy. So it's better if I lose the race and just straight up drop out. That's great. Well, not great for Foggy, you kind of want him to, succeed, but, it's good he realizes that, yeah, I should probably stop. And Foggy's also really the driving force to bringing Matt back into the fold. It's really nice to see that Foggy still does care about Matt. At the beginning of the season, it's really Karen who's kind of obsessed that, oh, Matt will come back. He'll come back and everything will be good. And Foggy's like, Karen, he is dead. He is gone. But then by the end of it, Foggy's the one who's like, we're going to get Matt back and we're going to get the gang back together. And Karen's like the skeptical one. Like, I don't know. I liked that little turn. Speaking of Karen, oh boy, she is obsessed with Wilson Fisk. Matt is obsessed with Wilson Fisk as well, but for a different reason. Karen is obsessed with trying to prove Wilson Fisk should go back to prison. You know, he's playing the FBI. She's obsessed with that. So obsessed with it that it does end up costing her job at the New York Bulletin, which does suck because I really liked this season how they emphasized Karen and Allison's relationship. They touched upon it in season 2, and I really liked the relationship there, and it was even better here. Very much like a father-daughter type thing. It's really good, and it does hurt when they have their little fight and kind of they don't talk to each other after that. But then when Karen kind of becomes like a not wanted, but you know, her name gets out there, and Allison sees her again, he instantly is just like hugging her and being like, "Oh, thank God," you know, like I like that. And I got scared Allison was gonna die this season. There was a moment where he gets injured, and I'm like, "Oh my God, did they just kill him?" Thank God, no, he's alive. So that's good. Karen, we get her finally her backstory, which I guess does take inspiration from the comics. She was a druggie, you know, not a good place, which is how Karen ends up in the comics. She ends up being drug. I mean, in the comics, she gives up Matt Murdock's identity for a fix. So. Yeah, so they did the reverse. She started in the comic. She started fine, and then turned and had the downward spiral. This one is the reverse. She started bad, but has built her life up. So her whole backstory: she worked at a diner that her father ran. She and her brother worked there. Her brother was the cook. Karen was kind of like the waitress and all that. And she and her father had a fight about Karen going to college and all that type of stuff, and eventually Karen's boyfriend ended up beating up her brother. So she and her brother, when they escaped, they got into a car accident because Karen was high and drunk and not paying attention, and the car crash killed her brother. And after that, her father told her to leave. I don't want to see you anymore. So her father's a dick. I can understand, though, how mad he'd be, you know, that his son died and his daughter was responsible because she was being a druggie and doing bad things. And I can understand him being mad at her at that point, not wanting to see her, but then they show later on that he's still mad at her after all these years. I think at this point he would have come to terms with it. So that is like, oh, her dad's a dick. You know? And God, does Karen at this point in the season get really freaking annoying. Like, she has gotten, like, especially in season 2, my patience with her was wearing thin. In this season, it was gone. Like, I just was like, so many times in this season, like, God, go away. Karen, you're so freaking annoying. And I thought, you know, I mean, obviously, we know she's in Born Again. But there was a moment in the show where it's like, yeah, this could have been Karen's death, you know, and it would have fit with the comics, but they didn't do that. Instead, a much better character met the bucket to save her. Kingpin, my God, man, he is back and he's better than ever. They show the perfect thing about Kingpin in this, which is, he's in prison. That don't mean this man ain't running it. Just because he's in prison doesn't mean he's out the game. He starts running and orchestrating everything from prison. He cuts a deal with the FBI that he will give them all the info they need if they leave Vanessa out of it. Right? They don't prosecute Vanessa. Because right now Vanessa is, you know, she's off somewhere in another country, so then the FBI can't touch her. So the deal is that Wilson Fisk gives them info on different crime bosses and operations and all that, and the deal is that they will then not prosecute Vanessa and she can come back to the States. Well, that very quickly turns out that Wilson Fisk takes over this whole operation and literally runs the FBI. He gets dirt on everyone. And this man just pretty much just walks around free under the guise that, oh yeah, he's under house arrest, but he's under house arrest in a penthouse in New York that his business is just bought. And he has dirt on all the FBI agents, and they end up just becoming his own personal security. Like, goddamn, dude. That's awesome. That's Kingpin, though. Speaking of that, he wears the white suit. He gets the white suit. Oh, that's so satisfying him wearing the white suit. And he actually gets the nickname Kingpin. They teased it in season 2 with the guy saying there's only one Kingpin in prison. But now it's like, you know, they only refer to him in the FBI under the code name of Kingpin, which is like, yeah, that's what I want to hear. And a big thing he does this season, as like I said, he goes after Foggy and Karen. He finds out, of course, Matt Murdock is Daredevil. Finds that out pretty quick. And then from that, he just ends up wanting to destroy Matt Murdock and Daredevil. So he frames Matt Murdock as being a corrupt lawyer who was on his books, like, you know, who was on his take. So that sends Matt Murdock off. So Matt Murdock has to hide, and then he starts framing Daredevil, for like murders and crimes and all that type of stuff. So he literally destroys Matt Murdock from both aspects of his life. You know, like, that is crazy. That's awesome. It's awesome. I just love how this season showed how powerful Wilson Fisk is. Even though he's in prison, he still runs everything. He took over the FBI. And then they explain later in the show that, like, yeah, he's been planning this since, like, as soon as he got to prison. Like, he's been planning this the whole time. It's awesome. It's just so good. And I have to say, the ending fight with Matt Murdock, Kingpin, and another character we're about to talk about is so good. And then when it's just Matt and Kingpin beating the crap out of each other, and Matt Murdock tells Kingpin, you will go back to prison, and you will know that this city rejected you. It beat you. I beat you. That is beautiful stuff. That is masterful. I'm watching this going like, oh my god, this is art. It's art. And then, like, Matt's like, you know, and you're gonna keep my secret, because if you don't, I will go for your wife. That is awesome. Well, by the way, Kingpin and Vanessa get married, so congrats to the happy couple. One of you's back in jail. Bullseye. Poindexter. Oh my god. So, they did a great job with him. I loved him. I gotta say, how they don't explain his marksmanship. Because obviously Bullseye in the comics, he's just like, you know, expert marksman. He kills people with freaking playing cards. But I love how in this show, they don't explain it. He just does it. He's just accurate as all hell, and no one questions it. They don't ask. It's not an explanation. He just does it. I love that. You just like, yeah, you know him. You don't gotta explain nothing. He just accurate. I love it. So his origin, they took a bit from, I would say, the new one with like the baseball team and all that. They took that bit. Like, that's like the new origin. They pretty much made it that he was a psychopath from the very beginning. But he had found stuff to kind of ground him a bit, and then once Wilson Fisk sees the capabilities of him, Wilson Fisk is like, okay, I'm gonna make you go even more crazy. So, Bullseye, for the most part, when you first see him, they, you know, obviously, and this is before we get his full origin story and everything, he just comes across as, like, you know, a regular FBI agent, all that stuff. And then as we get more into him as a character, you start to realize, okay, he's a mental nutcase. He's got issues, but he has overcome them. He's found a way to ground himself and all that stuff. So, you know, not too big of a problem. And then Wilson Fisk finds out about it. And Wilson Fisk's like, well, I want him to work for me. So I gotta ruin your life. so that way you get desperate enough to come work for me. So Wilson Fisk like starts causing his descent into madness. He ends up getting Poindexter suspended from the FBI, gets an investigation going on about him on whether he's corrupt or not. He ruins his quote-unquote love life. Quote-unquote. Ben Poindexter was stalking a girl, and Kingpin makes it so that way that girl... Well, first off, he kills her, and then makes it that she doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. Oof, okay, and then, once Bullseye has fully gone to his descent of madness, Kingpin has him impersonate Daredevil, which is something that did happen in the comics. He impersonated Daredevil in the comics. In the comics, he ended up getting so caught up in it, he thought he like legitimately was Daredevil and forgot he was pretending. So I like that. I like how this season was an amalgamation of so many different storylines, right? Like, you have the Kingpin frame Matt Murdock and Daredevil thing. You have Bullseye pretending to be Daredevil. You have the whole born again, aspect of it. I like how it's just a huge amalgamation of a bunch of different storylines, and it's done wonderfully. This is how you do a superhero show. This is how you do a superhero show. Nadeem. He is the big side character of this season, definitely. So Agent Nadeem was the FBI agent kind of in charge of Wilson Fisk's, trying to get him to make a deal. And you get to see Nadeem start off, he's very well-intentioned. Nadeem has been passed over for promotions multiple times because of his financial situation with his family. His sister-in-law went through, I believe it was cancer, and he ended up lending his brother and her money to get her through the treatment and all that type of stuff, and that put him in debt. And because he's in debt and in a financial problem, the FBI won't promote him. So Wilson Fisk sees this and is like, aha, now I got him. And eventually it does lead to Nadeem. He wants to do the right thing. You can tell the guy that wants to do the right thing. He does get on your nerves a bit when he starts going after Foggy and Karen when Matt is framed, because Nadeem is, blinded by the fact that, oh, well, Wilson Fisk's detail's been, so good so far that Matt Murdock must be, dirty and corrupt. And he starts going after Foggy and Karen, you get annoyed at him for that. But when he starts to realize what's going down, he's like, he actually is just like, oh, God help me. And he actually works with them. He works with Daredevil, he works with Karen, Foggy, and then Matt, who actually reveals he is Daredevil to Nadeem in this. Nadeem became, over time, a really good character, and I started to enjoy him. And he does parallel Matt's father in a way, where he wants to look good in his son's eye. That's all that matters to him. At the end of the day, the world can say what they want about him, and they do, because Fisk starts to paint him as he's a corrupt FBI agent, to the public, right? To the public, because he makes Nadeem seem like he's out of control and all that type of stuff, and starts to smear his name. Nadeem's like, well, they can say all they want about me. What matters at the end of the day is how my son sees me, which is like Matt's dad. Matt's dad, for just that one night, wanted Matt to see that your dad's not a loser. That's all he wanted. Just one time for his son to know his dad's not a loser. And that's what ended up costing Jack his life. And Nadeem follows in the same way. Nadeem is shot by Bullseye. I didn't actually think he was going to die. Actually, I thought Nadeem was going to live through this whole thing, but no, he dies. I was shocked. I was like, oh, damn, they killed him. Okay. Crazy. Okay, we're straight up killing Nadeem here. But even though he does die, his death is made to save his family, and he leaves a parting gift that takes down Wilson Fisk. So his death had a purpose. It does I'm not gonna say I'm super sad he's dead, because I'm not. I'm more shocked that they went with it, if that makes sense. It's when he died, I'm like, oh wow, you actually went through with that. Okay, wow, okay. You know, like that's how I feel. And I think that's really all the well, I mean, I could talk about the big reveal of Father Lantom and Sister Maggie, which is that Sister Maggie is Matt's mother. And that is something that to most people, they probably were like, yeah, that's a big reveal. And it's done brilliantly in the show. For me, though, this is the curse of being a comic book fan. I knew from the as soon as they're like, this is Sister Maggie. And then like after I clicked from like, oh shit. That's yeah. Okay, yeah, no, yeah. Once you realize who she is and you look back at everything she's done, like I said, you're like, ah, yeah, that makes sense why she's sticking by him. That makes so much sense, you know? Her reasoning, like, is like, you know, she fell in love with his dad, got married, had him, but she had a disease that I forget the full name of it, but it's a disease that causes like chronic depression. And she believed that instead of it being the disease, that like, you know, she had forsaken God and she had made an abomination by, you know, getting married and not being a nut. So that ended up with Father Lantom taking her out of the Murdoch family, and she went and gave her vows and became a nun. And yeah, it's hard. Once you learn that, Matt Murdock is pretty much distant from her for the rest of it. But by the end of the show, he does reconcile with her and is like, you know, I'm gonna need someone to talk to about my problems, you know? So, you know, they reconcile at the end there. And I gotta shout out once more Father Lantom. That's my boy. He was awesome, and his death sucked ass. I should have been Karen over him, god damn it. Should have been Karen. But there you go. So that's Daredevil season 3. Overall, I think this is the weakest season. When I look back on it, this season starts very slow. Very slow, and it's not as engaging until we hit like the latter portion when it starts to ramp up, right? Like when Fisk's full takeover of the FBI is in full swing, when Matt and Foggy and Karen are working together to take him down. That's when the show really starts going, and Nadeem actually starts to fight back against Fisk and his corruption. That's when the show really starts going. But there's a lot of very slow setup to get there. It's not bad, but it is a noticeable dip from the previous 2 seasons. Where like every episode I was engaged, where this time there was times I'm like, are we done now? And that's bad. It's still, you know, awesome TV, right? But it's just like, because Daredevil season 1 and 2 are such high quality that this season does noticeably dip. So I gave season 1 a 9, season 2 is a 9, this is an 8. But that's still fantastic. You know, it's still great TV. Like overall, all 3 seasons of Daredevil, they're phenomenal. You know, like this is superhero TV that sadly we're never going to get again. It's done brilliantly. So even though the Netflix shows, they dipped in quality as they went on, Daredevil at least is consistent throughout his entire run. We'll see if Disney screws it up. So with this rewatch of mine done, I move on to Born Again, which at the time of recording has 2 episodes out. So I will be watching those, I guess. And then Born Again will get weekly releases when the episodes come out. I'm not going to wait and binge watch it all at the end. So my plan is to do the episodes as they come out. So they'll probably be like Wednesday releases and talk about them. So for 1 and 2, I think I'll just watch them both and then talk about them both. And then from then on, as we go, it'll be like episode by episode. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening to my old little retrospective going through Daredevil. Season 1 is great, season 2 is great, season 3 is good, and Defender sucks. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's hope Disney doesn't screw this up.